All right, so the recording is started, and this is the December 14th, 2021 Rook community meeting. Thank you, Travis, for covering while I have not been able to attend with some conflicts and vacations recently. But here we are to get started today on the 14th. Uh,
Welcome back.
typically, thank you, Travis. Typically, we start with the milestone checkups. So we have a couple of releases that we are planning to do later on this week. First of all, another patch release to get to double digits here on 1.7. So let's take a look here, and Travis can get us updated with some of the important issues for that will be going out, or if there's doesn't look like there's anything still blocking. So it looks to be smooth sailing, quote unquote, for the rest of this patch.
That's right. I don't think there's anything still waiting to get in, but we had a couple of important fixes in the last week or so, or since the last patch release that I think would be good to get out. This might be our last bi-weekly release. Well, I mean, it won't help that we had the holidays coming up anyway, but let's get the .10 out. And yeah, the one critical one I'm remembering is that the on newer, let's see, on Kubernetes 1.22, a few people were hitting an issue with the OSD prepare jobs not being able to run on certain nodes that their name is just the right length and had just the right characters in it with dots or dashes, to where Kubernetes 1.22 failed because of a bug in Kubernetes. So that has been fixed in 1.23, I confirmed. But in the meantime, yeah, we pushed a workaround, so we'll also work on 1.22. Yeah, I think that's all for 1.7 then.
Alrighty.
Yep.
And then we can talk about the first patch release then for 1.8, since that release was fairly recent. So was that just last week then?
So yep, last week
Yeah.
we on Thursday we got it out. So we delayed by a day, just a day, because we were decided to do some different things with NFS pools at the last minute, and
And I'm going to go ahead
went
and
ahead
link
with that.
sorry, Travis. I'm going to go ahead and link the 1.8 blog post as well too, just so it's
Oh
more
yeah,
more available.
sounds good. Um, yep. So we got the blog, we got the release notes, we got everything out there. So another great release, of course. I'm happy to have that out there in the community. Yeah, a lot of great progress and input from people. So just happy as always to keep it going. We have had a few issues open on the 1.8 release with some of the big changes we had. There were a couple of regressions, and tried to fill in the blocking release column, make sure it's up to date, so we can get a patch release out on Thursday is the target with those critical fixes in there. Let's see, just to look through there. So there was a pretty big RBAC refactor or move around that Blaine did related to the Helm charts and generation of common.yaml from the Helm charts. And so that we missed something in there. So let's see, so the service monitors there were failing. And there was also, I think that was related also to the next issue there with permission denied on the watch active sidecar. So that one affects if you have multiple managers running, the multiple managers fail. So the workaround there is people need to use one manager until we get the fix out. So that's not a big deal. Since there's that workaround. And then Teeny was removed from our containers. So the direct mount toolbox, the YAML example, just hadn't been updated. And then let's see. Oh, really unrelated to the 1.8 release was the Ceph 16.2.7 release. And that came out on Wednesday, just the day before our Rook release. So it looked like it was the same sort of timeline, but that upgrade for Ceph has an issue that we need to work around in Rook, where before we upgrade the monitors, we need to set this MDS skip sanity check. And then after the mons are upgraded, then we re-enable that. So I've got a PR in progress for that one, and just need to finish that up today. But I think, yeah, we've got fixes in progress for all of these. And I think we'll be good for Thursday.
So all four, you think, Travis, then of the blocking release ones are on target for being like feedback incorporated, merged, and ready to go for Thursday?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll be
Cool.
good. So,
Any other ones that are like in progress here, perhaps that would be opportunistically included in the Thursday release, or intentionally focused on the blocking release?
Well, in the review in progress, there's, let's see, not the first one. So the second one in that list for dealing with pools and defaulting. Yeah, okay. It's kind of a big change, really a feature that I would have preferred to get in the minor release itself, but I think it's important enough. We'll just get it into the .1 release. So this feature is really the ability to configure the default or built-in Ceph pools. So there's two of them. There's the device health metrics pool, which Ceph just creates automatically for us, and it's used internally for. Actually, I don't even know what all health metrics Ceph puts in there, but it is created by default. And that we've had no way to configure it. You just had to use it would use the default replication, and you had to go to the toolbox to configure it. So the way now to configure it will be create a Ceph block pool CR with that name in it, and then we will go configure it. Now the tricky part here really was why you couldn't create the block pool CR for it before is that the name has underscores in it, and the Kubernetes resource name does not allow underscores or dots. So we have to put a name field now in the CR spec to allow us to override that with the real Ceph pool name. Yeah, so I've got that in progress, and I think we're just in final review, getting the CI fixed and all that. And that will be good to include.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I don't know.
Yeah, anybody else, like Seb and Blaine are here now. Anybody else want to add anything for 1.8, that one first patch this week?
Not much. I think we're on track. I just need to test one thing for what's active on OpenShift. I'm like 100% sure it's going to work on OpenShift, but yeah, well, I guess.
Did you say 100?
Well, yeah, 99 maybe, I guess. So yeah, I'm just like bootstrapping the cluster, and I'll test that out shortly, and that should be in time for the release.
Great, Seb.
Yeah. I mean, the review looked good. Just to double check. Sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then as mentioned, we added a link to the blog post here in the community meeting agenda for 1.8. So if you haven't gotten a chance to read all the features and effort and progress that went into 1.8, it is available in that blog post there.
Yeah.
So
real quick,
yep.
A question on those blocking issues for Blaine. Blaine, you're looking at the RBAC issues, right? I can't remember where we were discussing that explicitly. Let's see, that first one in the blocking release called get resources for service monitors.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is there's PR I have to review, and then there is this was, I think, a Helm issue, or like a Helm specific issue, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that is I don't have the notes pulled up today, but that is this link.
Okay, cool. So that PR is already in progress. I missed reviewing that, I guess, yesterday. All right.
Yeah, there's a user version of the PR as well, but I didn't see. I requested some changes and I haven't seen any response. So that like user PR is here. and was different, and then they kind of converged later. So that's, I guess, some of the confusion there. But yeah, I think we can probably, given that the user hasn't responded, but since they're effectively the same with just a different default setting, move forward with the first one I suggested. And I did add that user as a co-author on the commit. So I hope that is acceptable for them.
I mean, we need to get the fix in, and that seems, yeah, sounds good.
I also see from the chat we have a question from a user Abdelila. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but should we answer that, or are there still questions here?
Question. Oh, would you recommend upgrading Rook 1.7 or wait for 1.8 now? So are you on 1.6 right now? Currently, I'm assuming. So I think, or did you stay earlier? Yeah, earlier. I said that. So I mean, we want to get 1.8.1 out. There are a few critical fixes that will need to be in there, but other than that, it's really a personal preference if you want to go with 1.7, since it's kind of stabilized for longer, or I'd say 1.8.1 for new deployment. That would be my recommendation. But other thoughts on it?
I think given that they're on 1.6 now, I think they have to upgrade to 1.7 before upgrading to 1.8.
Oh, that's true. Anyway, yep.
So you can't, like,
so
you can't skip
1.7 first. Yep. Yeah, and earlier I linked the upgrade guide. So if you look at the top of that upgrade guide, it has a link to the previous versions of the upgrade guides that say how to upgrade from each version of Rook to the next one. I mean, the steps are commonly pretty much the same, with a few, but there are a few specific things depending on your configuration. So, yep, thanks. All right, that's all for that question then. Thanks for the notes, Jared.
There we go. Okay, yeah, just capturing that in the agenda document as well. Cool. Okay, we'll keep monitoring the chat to see if more questions come up. That's definitely useful to get those addressed during this meeting here. Okay, so quick note then that the next meeting here 2 weeks from now will be canceled due to holiday period. I think a lot of people will be offline. So we will just skip next week, and it's already mentioned here in the agenda doc as well. And we will pick it back up in the new year. So yeah, everybody, I hope everyone has a happy holiday season, and yep, we'll see everyone in the new year there. All right, so there was a discussion around the old Rook Dev mailing list there and its value or lack thereof. The one thing I wanted to add to it that may not have been discussed before is that is what is used currently for community meeting calendar appointment being added. So when you join the Rook Dev mailing list or Google group, I guess is a better way to describe it, then you automatically get the community meeting calendar appointment added to your calendar as well. So I'm not sure if that was discussed before in the conversation around deleting or disabling this old group, but that is something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't discuss that, but I think we try and advertise, the community link in Slack every couple of weeks. We just put another link to how to join, and so I don't know, are people using that invite? I wouldn't think so, but
I don't bring it up as like this is critical and it must be protected because of that, but it's something to consider. If we continue to I mean, it seems like most of the time the attendance to this meeting is, like a core crew, and then folks come in as needed. And so if they're seeing that from Slack, or if we're maybe posting it on Twitter, also could be effective if we're not doing that, then that could be, probably reaching an audience more effectively than membership in Rook Dev Google group.
Exactly. Yeah, I think there's other ways people can join. But yeah, we've got a couple who have joined beyond the core crew today. Just curious for your input if you care if we close that Rook Dev Google group. So I'll take that as a no opinion.
I didn't know it existed, so if that's
right.
There we go. That helps.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good confirmation that it's not super necessary. Thank you for sharing that opinion. I appreciate it. Yeah. So
well, and on a related note, Jared, even we have two other mailing lists too. There's the Rook Info for CNCF, and there's the Rook Security email list. So, I mean, we definitely need the Rook Security email list in case someone wants to report something. But even the Rook Info mailing list it's pretty much only for spam right now. So, should we even close that one, or is there some other use that we need to keep it open? Right? The CNCF recommended we or created for us.
Good question. It would be good to confirm with Amy, maybe, of like, do they have a requirement around a project, must have a certain set of mailing lists within the CNCF mailing list framework there. The security one, I agree, is absolutely, it's part of our security disclosure framework and policy. So we have to keep that one. That's a must. But the info one is of questionable value also. So yeah, let's sync up with Amy and see if we can remove that.
Yeah, we just had a meeting with her yesterday, and I didn't think about that then.
Yeah, right.
So we'll just sync with her next month. No rush. But I think we agree. We'll go ahead and close the Rook Dev mailing list. Consider the CNCF info one for closure, but maybe just remove the dev mailing list from the GitHub. I think that's the only reference to it. And then can we mark it as archived or just close it? I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I can look at the Google group settings and see what sort of functionality it exposes for deprecating, obsoleting, closing, archiving, whatever it is. I'll see what they have available. And then I just wanted to do a real quick brainstorm also. Is that mailing list or that Google group used for gating access to any other resources we can think of? I doubt it, but I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that would be part of that. I can think a lot of access is gated on GitHub membership.
Exactly. It should be GitHub for everything. I don't know what would be on that.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of it any. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then let me take an action item, Travis, because I think I have ownership of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a handful of emails every year type of thing, right? It's just...
Yeah, can we, so depending on if we can archive it, I think it's great. If we can leave a message to, and then archive, or send out an email saying that we're closing the mailing list, so that if we archive it, then we see the latest message was okay, hey, we are just moving over to GitHub discussions, for example. I think that'd be great too. So then we move out whoever has subscribed to that mailing list. We just send some sort of a shutdown notice.
Yeah, good idea, Seb. Thanks for calling those out, man.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, so I'll all right, cool. Sounds good. And then so I could follow up on that then, just to make sure all that happens. Then I could open PRs as well too to remove it from the repo. So I could just follow up on that whole process.
Cool.
So
you'll open a PR against Rook? Is that what you said?
I did say that. Hopefully you don't request too many changes, Travis.
Right. I'll be mean, huh?
Yes, yeah, seriously. I thought this is a supporting, helpful community, Travis, not a snarky community. Okay, cool. All right, I got to take a note for that. Okay, so that's everything that was on the agenda here. Did people have other topics that they wanted to bring up? I'll take one more look at the chat also. It doesn't look like any more new messages there. So yeah, okay. Then that should be everything for today's meeting. And we'll hope everyone has a happy holiday season, and we'll see everyone in the new year. And then in the meantime on Slack and places that are not Rook Dev Google Group.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Have a good rest of the year.
Do you have a question before we leave?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt. I don't really have a question, but I mean, since we have a couple of more minutes, so I thought that was a good chance to kind of get to know the community more. I was looking into that issue about adding support for like key rotation for encryption, and I sent a PR. Thanks, Sebastian, and for the quick feedback on that. So I just want to make sure that, you know, I'm familiar with what would be the next steps, and just kind of getting more to know the process and things like that.
Yeah, thanks for submitting. It was a really good write-up, and I know I have to do a second round of review just at least to address some of your comments too. But yeah, overall it looks good. Thanks for yeah.
Okay,
so I guess we would just keep on discussing a little bit, just to kind of finalize what we want to do, and then if you want, you can just start the implementation, I guess.
Okay. Do you want maybe a more detailed like design doc or something like or maybe just kind of start on kind of prototyping? So I'm new to both Rook and Ceph, so just kind of
I think
learning, I guess.
We're not like I think we like having designs, but it doesn't have to be like super thorough with all the details and just like with the API examples and things like this. There are things we also like to talk over PRs in code, as opposed to just like setting everything in stone in as a markdown document. So we're just trying to find the right balance, and I think that's the right balance for us, where we have a good design overview document where we know where we're going, and then we just like we continue with the small details over the draft PR implementation or something like this. That's typically how we do it, I guess.
All right, sounds great. We'll follow up on that then.
Thank you, cool. Guys. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for engaging the conversation. Also, coming to the community meeting, asking about expectations. I think that's a fantastic example of like community engagement and driving improvements to the project. So that's really cool. Thanks for doing that.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
Right on, right on. Okay, cool. Then I think that probably wraps everything up then. So yes, thanks everybody. Good to see everybody today, and we'll see each other online then.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.